She was removed from the graduation stage due to her attire: a simple white cotton dress, worn ballet flats, and a casually tied ponytail, an appearance that drew attention from those in attendance. "You are not on the speakers list. Please step down," stated the event organizer, the silence that followed as brittle as glass. No explanation was given. There was no public questioning of why Elise Carter, St. Morel's top student, was excluded from the final moment of recognition. Instead, quiet mockery rippled through the audience, unaware that daughters of janitors sometimes aspired to share a stage with those from established families. She descended, 1 foot at a time, moving past gazes filled with judgment. However, just then, the doors swung open, and her fiancé, heir to a billion-dollar empire, entered. Royal Lancaster Hall resembled a cathedral of privilege, its crystal chandeliers projecting prisms of light that shimmered across gilded walls and velvet-draped tables. The air was heavy with the fragrance of orchids and affluence, each guest a dazzling symbol of power. St. Morel Academy's graduation ceremony was far more than just an event. A coronation unfolded for the heirs of Forbes-listed dynasties. Diamond earrings shimmered on every ear, bespoke suits whispered with each movement, and the sound of champagne flutes resonated as a symbol of exclusivity. The students, adorned in silk-lined caps and gowns, were seated in rows of polished mahogany chairs, their futures seemingly predetermined and promising. A live-stream screen displayed the ceremony for those unable to purchase the $5,000 guest tickets, and among the viewers stood Maria Carter, Elise's mother, her hospital janitor scrubs concealed by a borrowed coat, her gaze fixed on her daughter's image. Elise entered, her white cotton dress a subtle rejection of the lavish surroundings. At 22, she was captivating, not with the refined appearance of her contemporaries, but with the natural beauty of someone who had rightfully earned her place. A low ponytail held back her dark hair, highlighting cheekbones and hazel eyes that conveyed warmth and determination. The gentle sound of her faded ballet flats accompanied her across the marble floor, her steps sure despite the challenge of 1,000 stairs. She was the scholarship student, raised by a single mother who cleaned hospital floors to ensure they could pay their rent. Exceptionally intelligent and persistent, she had earned a place among the best at St. Morel's, only to face criticism for the circumstance of her background. The lack of her mother in the hall felt like a hidden pain, as she was aware Maria observed from the chilly street beyond. When Elise settled into her place, the hall's prominent figures initiated a digital attack. Mobile phones illuminated, students rapidly typing, their social media updates a public shaming. Charity case crashes, one wrote, highlighting Elise's worn shoes. Mother posted, St. Morel's biggest mistake, allowing a cleaner's child to attend. The live stream discussion became filled with harsh comments. She's a fraud, and kick her out, peered frequently. Sophia Lyle, a girl in a sapphire gown, stood, her voice audible to Maria outside. Reports indicated her dress was trending as the worst fashion choice of the year. The hall erupted in laughter, a cruel sound, with phones raised as if to attack Elise. She remained still, her hazel eyes focused ahead, though her fingers lightly touched her plaque, revealing a slight tremor that contradicted her composure. Maria's expression on the live stream was one of suffering, each online post feeling like an insult to her honor. The audience's anger intensified, fueled by their outrage at the mob's actions, attention poised to explode. Ethan Caldwell, a large senior and inheritor of a tech empire, rose from his seat, his substantial build looming over Elise as she remained seated. "You're occupying space you have no right to," he stated, his voice resonating throughout the diamond section. He approached, the sound of his loafers striking the marble floor, his Rolex catching the light as he gestured towards her. "That dress is disrespectful to this hall. Leave before we force you to." A hush fell over the crowd, an unspoken sense of danger palpable as phones were raised to document the scene. Ethan moved closer, his breath warm with champagne, his fingertip hovering near Elise's face. "Your mom scrubs floors, for people like us. Know your place." A scattering of students offered encouragement, their voices keen and insistent. Elise's hands remained clasped, her hazel eyes locked with his, unwavering despite the visible pulse in her neck. A palpable tension filled the air, her silence a delicate defense against his threat, and the audience's anger swelled, yearning for her to be saved. The hall seemed to sway as Elise took her place in the diamond section, designated for the privileged. Murmurs cut through the atmosphere. "Wait, are they renting out diamond seats by the hour now?" Scoffed a boy in a tailored tuxedo, his cufflinks gleaming. A girl standing close by, her gown adorned with Swarovski crystals, bent forward. It was evident she had entered without permission. The absence of anyone accompanying her was noticeable. Her voice, measured and harsh, resonated, prompting laughter from those seated nearby. Elise's hands remained still in her lap, her expression calm. She had endured more difficult experiences during her 4 years at St. Morel, including classmates ridiculing her thrift store clothing and professors doubting her suitability for leadership. However, today was meant to be different. It was her graduation day. Natalie Harrington, daughter of a global fashion empire, was positioned 3 rows ahead, her blonde hair falling in flawless waves, and her emerald gown a $20,000 creation. She glanced back, her blue eyes assessing Elise from head to toe, and remarked, loud enough for the entire section to hear, "St. Morel really needs to reevaluate its scholarship standards." She continued, "We can't have commoners ruining the visual harmony." Amusement spread through the section as heads turned to observe Elise's simple dress. A young boy close by called out, asking what's next, and suggesting her mom scrub the stage. The hall was filled with murmurs, the taunting palpable and sustained by Elise's quietness. She didn't react. Her hazel eyes remained focused on the stage, though her fingers briefly clenched, revealing a momentary strain beneath her composure. A professor, Dr. Evelyn Tate, stood from the faculty row, her silk shawl shifting as she addressed the hall with a condescending smile. "Miss Carter's attendance here was generous, but misplaced," she stated, her voice conveying insincere sympathy. "St. Morel is intended for individuals destined for leadership, not those who fulfill supporting roles," she indicated, gesturing toward Elise, her diamond ring catching the light. "Your scholastic achievements are noteworthy, but leadership demands heritage, not benevolence." The audience expressed agreement with quiet sounds and applause, their sense of privilege forming a barrier around Elise. "Perhaps a vocational school would be a more appropriate fit for you," Tate observed, her words carefully chosen to inflict pain. Elise held the plaque in her lap, her hands still, though her hazel eyes betrayed a hidden sorrow. Outside, Maria's hands tightened as the live stream broadcast Tate's dismissive remarks, her daughter's aspirations ridiculed by those who should have supported her. The audience's anger swelled, their outrage at this violation of trust by those in power a searing pain. Natalie Harrington moved closer, her emerald gown reflecting the chandelier's glow, her voice sharp and controlled. She observed her, believing she could occupy our position. She stated, her voice clear enough for the live stream to record each word. She stood, indicating Elise's dress with a gesture, her carefully shaped nails catching the light. "That garment is suited for a laundry basket, not St. Morel's stage. And those flats," she continued, "I wouldn't wear them to walk my dog." The hall erupted in laughter, students applauding, their amusement a public humiliation. A student yelled, "Send her back to the hospital to mop floors." Natalie's smile broadened, her gaze fixed on Elise. "Your mother's a cleaner, and you're just her shadow leeching off our prestige," she hissed, her words intended to inflict pain. Elise's plaque trembled in her hands, her knuckles whitening, but her face remained composed, a barrier against the attack. The live stream outside showed Maria's face falling, the crowd's harshness a blow to her heart, and the audience grew increasingly agitated, their anger threatening to erupt. The ceremony commenced, the dean's voice resonating through the hall, commending the prospective leaders of the world. Elise's name was announced for the valedictorian award, her flawless GPA a testament to her exceptional intellect. As she stood, the whispers intensified. "She? Valedictorian?" questioned a girl adorned with pearls. "It must have been achieved through dishonest means." Elise proceeded to the stage, her movements deliberate, her dress reflecting the chandelier's illumination. The applause was subdued, overshadowed by expressions of disapproval. She received her plaque, her smile subtle yet firm, and returned to her seat, the feeling of their assessment feeling more significant than the award she held. A cluster of students close to Elise's seat rose, spearheaded by Julian Pierce, a banking heir whose smirk matched the precision of his suit. "Let's make her feel welcomed," he announced, throwing a discarded napkin toward her. "Pick it up, cleaner's kid," others echoed, adding straws and programs, creating a mess around her. "This is your level, Elise," Julian sneered, his voice audible on the live stream. Laughter erupted from the audience, with some yelling, "Sweep the stage next." The scattered debris created a mortifying backdrop around Elise's chair. She remained composed, her cotton dress a symbol of resistance, though her fingers tightened around her plaque, her knuckles bone white. Maria's expression on the live stream conveyed intense distress, each object thrown a painful blow to her daughter's sense of worth. The crowd's anger escalated, their hearts racing, yearning for the mistreatment to stop, for Elise to transcend the crowd's harshness. Claire Voss, a media heiress, her diamond choker catching the light, rose to her feet, her voice cutting and dramatic. "This is mortifying for everyone," she announced, speaking to the hall with regal authority. "Does Elise believe she can be valedictorian in that second-hand dress?" She indicated Elise, her bracelet chiming, a cruel smile playing on her lips. "You're someone who received charity and got fortunate. You are not welcome on this stage." The audience exploded in uproar, students yelling, "Go back to the slums. And she's ruining the aesthetic." Claire lifted a hand, quieting them, her gaze fixed intensely on Elise. "Your mother is insignificant, and you are even less," she stated, her words deliberate and sharp. "Depart before you escalate the situation." Mobile phones illuminated the scene, capturing Elise's composure, her cotton dress becoming a focal point of their derision. Maria gripped her phone, the live stream showing her daughter's distress. While the audience's frustration grew, their sympathy focused on Elise's honor. When the student speeches were to be presented, Elise's name was scheduled to begin. She had dedicated weeks to writing her speech, a recognition of strength, and a tribute to her mother's sacrifices. As she stood, her heart calm, she moved towards the stage, still holding the plaque. A coordinator, a wiry woman wearing a black blazer, blocked her way, holding a clipboard as if it were a shield. "I'm sorry, you're not on the official list of speakers. Please step down," she stated, her voice cold and amplified by the microphone attached to her lapel. The hall fell silent, all eyes fixed on Elise. The coordinator's lips moved slightly, seemingly pleased by the situation. Elise hesitated, her breath momentarily suspended, but her expression remained calm. Ms. Langley, the coordinator, approached Elise, who stood motionless on the stage, her clipboard held high. "Did you hear me, Miss Carter?" she inquired, her voice laced with disapproval and amplified through the microphone. "You will not be speaking today. You are not part of this group." She then faced the audience, offering a strained smile, seemingly seeking their agreement. "We uphold certain standards at St. Morel, and this," she indicated Elise's dress, "does not meet them." The hall erupted in laughter, a sound like a tidal wave, with students clapping as if at a show. "Perhaps you could assist your mother with the cleanup," Langley remarked, her words pointed. Elise's plaque vibrated in her hands, her hazel eyes flashing with pain, but she remained silent. The live stream displayed Maria's face, tears flowing, the crowd's harshness a public dismantling of her daughter's aspirations. The viewers' anger intensified, their hearts racing, hoping Elise would withstand this final setback. A murmur arose, spreading quickly. "She's poor," a boy in the front row whispered, his voice audible to those watching the live stream. "Sad, but appropriate," a girl added, her diamond bracelet flashing as she chuckled. Natalie shifted, her expression growing more knowing, her hand lightly touching her dress, as if disregarding the unfolding situation. She had planned this, dedicating hours to influencing the event committee, making sure Elise's name was removed from the speakers. This was her last offering to the beneficiary who had the audacity to overshadow her. The hall's laughter amplified, a collective expression of derision, each syllable a missile aimed at Elise's reputation. Outside, Maria held her phone, her complexion ashen, the live stream displaying her daughter's embarrassment for all to see. Elise remained motionless, her fingers subtly shaking around the plaque. The coordinator indicated the staircase, her urgency noticeable. "Please proceed, Ms. Carter," she stated, her voice clear enough for the rear sections to hear. The hall seemed to anticipate Elise's faltering, her tears, her demonstration of inadequacy. However, Elise remained composed. She raised her head, her hazel eyes surveyed the room, and she spoke, her voice firm and unwavering, piercing the surrounding sounds like a sharp instrument. "Thank you for revealing who genuinely belongs in this place." The words were gentle, yet they held a significance that momentarily hushed the murmurs. She then turned, her footsteps silent on the marble, and started to walk away from the stage, her head held high, her dignity a protection against their harshness. As Elise began to leave the stage, Natalie stood up again, her emerald gown a beacon of spite. "This is why we don't associate with the staff," she announced, her voice sharp and clear through the hall. "Elise, you're a stain on St." The impact of Morel's legacy was palpable. A harsh judgment fell. "Your mother's a failure, and you're her echo," accompanied by a gesture towards the live stream screen, acknowledging Maria's viewership. "Go join her outside where you both belong." The audience responded with cheers, their applause seeming to mock Elise's distress, as phones documented her every movement. "No one wants you here," Natalie added, her smile laced with malice. Elise's flats made a soft sound on the marble floor, her plaque clutch held firmly, her hazel eyes reflecting a quiet determination. Maria's sobs resonated through the live stream, the crowd's harshness a public dismantling of her daughter's aspirations. The audience's anger boomed, their spirits saddened, hoping Elise would withstand this ultimate setback. The hall's derision intensified as she walked down the steps. "Back to the slums," cried a boy, his voice lost in the laughter. A girl threw a crumpled program at Elise's feet, saying, "Pick it up, janitors, kid." The paper slid across the floor, brushing Elise's flats, but she didn't stop. Her steps were even, her face serene, but the audience outside, Maria's audience, felt each insult as a physical blow. Maria's hands shook, tears streaked her face, but she didn't avert her gaze from the screen. Elise was her daughter, her pride, and they were dismantling her for entertainment. The hall's laughter was a storm, unrelenting, each remark a wound no one could see but everyone could feel. Natalie stood, her emerald gown shimmering, her voice ringing out. "Let's acknowledge her effort with applause," she stated, clapping deliberately and with a hint of sarcasm. The auditorium responded, the sound echoing emptily, a distorted imitation of reverence. "Perhaps she could present at the community college next," Natalie remarked, her smile sharp. The laughter intensified, phones lighting up as students documented Elise's departure, their captions already being composed. "Scholarship girl falters." Elise's form diminished against the stage's light, her cotton dress a striking difference from the radiant audience. She felt isolated and vulnerable, her opportunity taken by individuals unfamiliar with hardship. The audience's frustration was palpable, their emotions aligned with Elise, hoping she would retaliate. Suddenly, the doors opened and all movement ceased. Security cleared a path, their dark suits creating a sharp contrast to the hall's grandeur. Bright light flooded the space, highlighting a person in a gray suit and black tie. Noah Grayson, only successor to Grayson Industries, entered the room. At 24, he possessed a striking presence. Tall and lean, with dark hair swept back and eyes like carved steel, sharp enough to cut through lies. His presence was electric and commanding, the kind that silenced a room without a word. He had built Grayson Industries' renewable energy arm into a $50 billion empire, and his name was whispered in boardrooms from Tokyo to New York. But to Elise, he was simply Noah, the man who'd fallen for her mind, her heart, and her quiet strength. Noah approached Elise, his movements purposeful, his eyes fixed on her. The hall seemed to pause, the sound of laughter fading. He extended his hand, his touch gentle yet steady, halting her progress. "You're not going anywhere," he stated, his voice quiet but strong, audible throughout the hall. "This is a ceremony of honor, and you're the only one here who genuinely deserves it." Elisa's eyes relaxed, a subtle smile gracing her lips. However, she remained silent, her lack of words more impactful than any declaration. Noah's hand remained on hers, his touch conveying a promise, a protection from the atmosphere of the room. He addressed the event organizers, his steady gaze focusing on the coordinator, who visibly recoiled. "I've been the primary sponsor of St. Moral for 3 years," Noah stated, his voice calm yet resolute, each word carrying significant weight. "This hall's construction, the scholarships you receive, and the continuation of your legacy were all made possible by my family's contributions. However, I am formally withdrawing all future funding unless Elise Carter is invited back onto that stage. Immediately." The event coordinator's clipboard visibly shook, and her complexion drained. The dean, positioned at the front, rose to speak, but Noah's intense look stopped him. The hall felt like a silent chamber, with every attendee motionless, their earlier confidence dissipating under Noah's control. Noah's gaze moved to Natalie, who appeared stiff, her smile vanished, her hands tightly holding her dress. "Natalie Harrington," he stated, his voice sharp and clear, "you sent me 27 messages over the last 4 months, requesting a meeting, a partnership, an opportunity to be at my family's table. Don't believe I was unaware that you altered the speaker list today." A sudden commotion filled the room, eliciting gasps and murmurs as heads turned to Natalie. Her face was flushed, and her eyes moved quickly, desperately seeking an escape route. "You believed you could remove Elisa's name," Noah stated, his voice cold, "but you have only damaged your own reputation." Natalie's chair scraped against the floor as she rose, her voice shaking. "That is not accurate," she insisted, but the attention of the hall was now focused on her, scrutinizing, disapproving. The coordinator spoke quietly to the dean, who responded with a somber nod. Security advanced towards Natalie, their footsteps echoing on the marble. "Ms. Harrington, you're needed at the disciplinary board," one stated, his voice resolute. Natalie's gown snagged on her chair as she lost her balance, her heels striking the floor in a defeated rhythm. The hall remained silent as she was led away, her sphere of power diminishing with each step. Noah's voice resonated, a commanding presence that quelled the hall's whispers. He stated that this wasn't solely Natalie's responsibility, his gaze sharp as he surveyed the audience, identifying those involved. "I possess evidence, emails, texts, and witness testimonies, demonstrating a planned effort to remove Elise from the speaker list." He retrieved a tablet from his suit, its screen illuminating with information. "Claire Voss, you provided a bribe of $50,000 to the event committee to modify the list. Ethan Caldwell, you disseminated rumors regarding Elisa's alleged academic dishonesty to damage her GPA reputation. Ms. Langley, it is known that you enforced the altered list for a promotion." A collective gasp rippled through the room, with heads turning towards the accused, their faces visibly paling. "Grayson Industries is initiating an investigation, and individuals implicated will confront legal repercussions," Noah announced. "Elisa's reputation is paramount." The hall's silence was palpable, those found wanting visibly retracting under his scrutiny, and the audience erupted in applause, their spirits lifting as justice prevailed. Dean Dr. Harold Vance approached the podium, his face pale, his voice wavering under Noah's intense look. "St. Morel has let down its most promising student," he announced, his words transmitted to the live stream. "Elise Carter's exclusion was a planned action, and we acknowledge complete responsibility." He addressed the faculty, specifically mentioning Dr. Tate. "Your comments were inappropriate, and you are suspended while a review takes place." He then spoke to the students, his voice resolute. "An investigation into harassment is underway concerning Julian Pierce and Sophia Lyle. Expulsion is a possible consequence." A collective gasp rippled through the room as the accused visibly recoiled, their confidence diminishing. "Ms. Langley, your involvement in this sabotage concludes your time here," Vance announced. The silence in the hall felt like a judgment, while the live stream audience expressed their approval as events transpired. Elise remained composed, her cotton dress appearing radiant, embodying a sense of grace. A wave of emotion swept through the audience, the hall's appearance a clear sign of her victory. An outside live stream showed her leaving, the audience applauding Elise's validation. Elise returned to the stage, her cotton dress shimmering beneath the chandeliers, still holding her plaque. The hall was quiet now, everyone's heads lowered, the previous ridicule now replaced with regret. She approached the podium, her hazel eyes scanning the room, her voice calm and resolute. This moment wasn't hers alone, she stated, her words gentle but impactful. It was for her mother, who had instructed her that diligence surpasses riches. It was for each student informed they don't belong. The applause commenced, initially subdued, then growing, a wave of esteem. Elise didn't revel in it, she didn't require it. Her silence had conveyed volumes. Her dignity had prevailed. Elise approached the podium, her presence a restrained power that transformed the hall. I stand here not for myself, but for every voice silenced by wealth, she stated, her voice clear, resonating with unwavering strength. My mother taught me that honor isn't bought, it's earned. This scholarship in my name will ensure no student is judged for their background. She raised her plaque, its gold a symbol of her triumph, and faced the audience. St. Morel will change or it will fall, I choose change. The applause erupted, students and guests standing, their earlier scorn replaced by reverence. Noah's eyes shone with pride, his hand brushing hers, a silent vow. On the live stream, Maria's face glowed, the crowd chanting, Elise, Elise. The chandeliers above seemed to blaze, reflecting a legacy forged in truth. The audience's hearts thundered, Elise's words a clarion call, her triumph a light that would burn forever. The ceremony continued, but the atmosphere had changed. Noah took a seat beside Elise, his hand brushing hers, a quiet promise of forever. The dean announced new honors. Maria Carter, Elise's mother, received the Inspiration of the Year award, her name appearing on the live stream screen. Maria's tears shifted to a smile as the crowd outside cheered with pride. Grayson Industries announced a $10 million scholarship in Elise's name for students demonstrating leadership potential from low-income families. The audience responded with applause, but Elise's gaze was fixed on Noah, her heart brimming, her triumph achieved. Standing at the podium, Elise experienced a profound silence that highlighted her victory. This moment isn't solely for my benefit, she stated, her voice firm, carrying a strength that impressed those present. It's for my mother, who worked nights to provide me with an opportunity. It's for every student who has been told their aspirations are too modest. She displayed her plaque, its gold gleaming in the light, and continued, Grayson Industries' leadership in my name will create openings for others similar to me, and I'll ensure St. Morel never forgets the meaning of honor. The applause resonated, students and guests rising, their previous disapproval now replaced by wonder. Noah stood beside her, his hand on hers, his pride a silent strength. Outside, Maria's face was illuminated on the live stream, the crowd chanting Elise's name. The hall's chandeliers appeared to shine more brilliantly, mirroring a fresh legacy, one founded on truth, not wealth. The audience's hearts expanded, Elise's victory a symbol of justice destined to resonate beyond these walls. Following the ceremony's conclusion, Noah and Elise emerged, the spring air cool against their skin. He held a small velvet box, a diamond ring glittering in the sunlight. Turning to Elise Carter, he spoke, his voice gentle, intended only for her. You're my home, my truth. Will you marry me? Her smile was radiant, her nod immediate. The crowd outside erupted, Maria rushing to embrace them, her scrubs a badge of honor. Elise and Noah stood together, their hands entwined, their future a beacon of hope. Natalie faced a brief disciplinary hearing, resulting in expulsion for altering the honors list. Her family's reputation suffered. The live stream gained global popularity, elevating Elise and dominating social media, her narrative embodying resilience. St. Morel's reputation evolved, its influence expanding, its character transformed by a girl in a cotton dress. Elise needed no adornments. She represented hope. Like, share, and subscribe for more narratives such as this, and let us know in the comments, who would you have applauded? The incident left her feeling deeply embarrassed, occurring directly within the nation's premier military training area. Lacking any identifying marks, without a uniform, she appeared to be a cleaning lady who had mistakenly entered, someone remarked. Ava Collins, with her hair in a low ponytail, wearing canvas shoes and a wrinkled white shirt, stood alone, facing a barrage of mocking comments. 30 minutes elapsed before her husband's helicopter, belonging to the highest-ranking general in the military, landed. The strategic camp at St. Hawthorne's functioned as a fortress emphasizing discipline, with barbed wire fences enclosing a large area of muddy training grounds, advanced simulators, and barracks that were meticulously polished. This exclusive 4-week program, designed for the children of generals, senators, and chiefs of staff, served as an intensive training ground for battlefield survival, crisis management, and mental fortitude. Young military trainees, equipped with $2,000 tactical gear, practiced maneuvers while drones, transmitting live video, circled overhead, their personalized rifles displayed engraved family crests. The command center, a substantial structure of glass and concrete, overlooked the training area, displaying live tracking data on its numerous screens. Ava Collins arrived, her worn canvas sneakers sinking into the earth, her white button-up shirt showing slight wrinkles, her simple ponytail gently moving. At 28, having grown up in a tranquil Virginia town, she came with her boyfriend, a young strategic advisor, carrying a well-worn backpack containing a notebook and a water bottle. She displayed no badge, insignia, or indication of her past. The cadets' gazes scrutinized her, their whispers building like a storm. Ava's presence disrupted the camp's rigid hierarchy, and her backpack seemed disrespectful to the elite's carefully constructed environment. A cadet, Ethan Holt, rested against a Humvee, his $3,000 Oakley sunglasses reflecting the light. He muttered, loud enough to draw attention, "Look at that backpack, probably purchased during a post-COVID clearance sale." A senator's daughter, dressed in a $1,500 Under Armour kit, laughed, lightly bumping her friends. She doesn't seem to understand the distinction between a training ground and a gun barrel. Laughter spread through the mess hall, cadets quickly hiding smiles behind gloved hands. Ava remained motionless, her gray eyes unwavering, her backpack resting on her shoulder. She had come to observe, invited by her boyfriend, but the camp's rejection felt like a sharp rebuke to her reserved nature. The audience's frustration grew, their emotions tightening at the dismissive behavior of these officials, their contempt a blow against Ava's gentle demeanor. The taunts intensified, a spiteful performance led by the camp's influential members. Vanessa Pierce, the daughter of a chief of staff, stepped forward, her tactical vest spotless, her brunette braids as precise as her expression. At 24, having grown up in DC's power corridors, she had earned a reputation for defeating those unfamiliar with the environment. She looked at Ava's sneakers and expressed disdain. "She appears to be someone who has never demonstrated a competitive nature," she stated, her voice cutting. The cadets responded with laughter, the sound bouncing off the barracks. Vanessa swung her braid, the fragrance of her cedar-scented lotion filling the air, a scent Ava found overpowering. Ava's fingers tightened on her backpack, her face remaining calm, while the audience's anger escalated, their hearts pounding due to this personal attack, Vanessa's arrogance appearing as a spark in the cold atmosphere. The scorn intensified, becoming a deliberate and organized challenge to Ava's presence. A drill instructor, Margaret Klein, moved forward, her uniform sharply pressed, her face showing years of upholding regulations. At 48, raised in Texas, she took pride in preserving order. "Miss, this camp is restricted to authorized personnel only," she stated, gesturing towards the gate, her voice resolute but not unkind. The cadets responded with cheers, their tactical boots reflecting the light as they waved her away from the grounds. A general's son, dressed in a $2,000 Arc'teryx outfit, exclaimed, "She's likely someone's temporary girlfriend, just here for the food." Laughter erupted, cadets playfully bumping into each other. A squad leader whispered, "That shirt's a disgrace, and she has the nerve to stand here?" It was clear she didn't belong in a war zone. The criticisms felt like a guillotine, each phrase a blow against Ava's silence. The audience's anger intensified, their hearts aching for Ava, enraged by this group's continued harshness. The cadets' disdain became cruel as Ava stood on the training grounds, their taunts a planned attack intended to break her resolve. A group of elite trainees in $5,000 custom tactical kits assembled near the armory, their voices a poisonous blend. One remarked, tossing a training grenade in the direction of Ava's worn sneakers, "She's a blight on this camp's prestige." Another waved a custom rifle, shouting, back to the civilian sidelines, "Sweetheart, her backpack's a joke. Did she find it in a surplus store?" The laughter from the mess hall grew loud, staff members subtly gesturing to each other, their silver pins reflecting the light. A naval officer's son yelled, "She's an insult to every drill run here." The verbal attacks felt like a relentless pressure, each word a challenge against Ava's composed stillness. Nathaniel's helicopter was miles away, but the camp's disapproval felt overwhelming. The audience's anger escalated, their hearts racing, outraged by this planned act of unkindness, their fury burning, ready to challenge the elite's pride. Vanessa Pierce acted again, her cruelty a deliberate action to hurt Ava in front of the elite. During a pause close to the mess hall, she took a water bottle, walked casually over, and poured it into Ava's sneakers, her smile malicious. "Really?" She sneered, and her group burst into laughter. The cadets cheered, their contempt a heavy and oppressive wave, their whispers circulating, "She's nothing." Ava's gray eyes became colder than steel, but her expression remained steady, a defense against the treachery. The training ground extended past the barracks, but the camp's disdain felt like an immense pressure. The audience's anger surged, their hearts aching for Ava, furious at this public humiliation exposed before the ranks. The cadets' disapproval escalated, their words sharp and cruel. A student from a wealthy family, dressed in a $4,000 Patagonia outfit, rested against a supply crate, speaking in a harsh tone. "She's insignificant, likely trying to charm her way to a medal," he remarked, indicating Ava's worn shirt. "Look at those sneakers. Did she find them at a second-hand store?" His group of friends chuckled, their personalized knives glinting. A colonel's daughter exclaimed, "She brings shame to those who recommended her." The laughter felt overwhelming, their arrogance felt like a public condemnation. Ava straightened her ponytail, her gray eyes steady, but the camp's ridicule felt like a heavy burden. The audience's resentment intensified, their hearts racing at this ongoing betrayal, their anger ablaze poised to destroy the camp's integrity. Vanessa Pierce's disapproval became more pronounced, her words a deliberate attempt to hurt Ava before the camp's leadership. Her presence was jarring, a clear affront, she stated, her tactical vest reflecting the light as she indicated Ava's wrinkled shirt. Nathaniel Cross would be disappointed to witness this, a civilian on his property. The squad responded with laughter, their custom knives making a metallic sound as they looked towards Ava's backpack. "She's a visitor, not a tactician," Vanessa remarked, her voice carrying enough to quiet surrounding comments. The cadets expressed their disapproval with cheers, a palpable wave, their comments circulating, "She's an imposter." A quiet intensity blazed in Ava's gray eyes, yet her smile remained, a defense against the pain of betrayal. The command center was visible past the barracks, but the camp's disapproval felt like an unbearable burden. The crowd's anger surged, their feelings sympathetic to Ava, incensed at this heiress's deception revealed to all. The team's involvement intensified the hurt, their actions a new betrayal. A logistics officer, Clara Voss, in a fitted uniform, moved ahead, her voice laced with scorn. "Miss, the civilian viewing area is that way," she said, gesturing toward a distant bench, her smirk reflected by nearby cadets. "We do not allow guests of that nature on the training field," she added, eliciting laughter from the onlookers. At 32 years old, raised in Maryland, Clara took pride in her role as a gatekeeper. The crowd's approval was a powerful force, their arrogance a public display. Ava held her backpack, her gray eyes unwavering, but the camp's disapproval felt like an oppressive burden. The audience's anger intensified, their hearts racing due to this blatant disrespect, their fury directed at St. Hawthorne's reputation. The camp staff's disapproval became obvious, their actions a deliberate public humiliation intended for the cadets' entertainment. A senior coordinator, Richard Hayes, approached Ava close to the training simulator, his uniform immaculate, his voice laced with condescension. "Miss, this field is reserved for qualified trainees only," he stated, ensuring the crowd could hear. Her clothing appeared unsuitable for the program. He indicated her sneakers, his smile echoed by colleagues nearby. "We generally don't permit such casual attire at St. Hawthorne," he stated, prompting amusement from the cadets and instructors. The surrounding group's agreement felt overwhelming, their perceived superiority a pointed display. Ava held her backpack, her gray eyes steady, yet the camp's disapproval felt heavy. The audience's anger surged, their hearts racing at this perceived institutional betrayal, their fury directed against St. Hawthorne's integrity. The cadets' aggression intensified, their voices a sharp and bitter chorus. A diplomat's son, outfitted in a $3,000 North Face ensemble, leaned forward, his voice loud and critical. "She's a fraud, likely infiltrated to act as a war tourist," he stated, his unit concurring, their tactical watches displaying the time. "Her commands are seen as a joke, merely a tactic to fit in," another addition and loudly proclaimed. "She's considered a con artist, the camp has been deceived." Laughter erupted, each rumor feeling like a blow aimed at Ava's heart. Staff members shared falsehoods, their accusations spreading rapidly. "She's believed to be seeking an unearned benefit." Ava touched her backpack, her expression unwavering, but the public's defamation felt like a heavy burden. The audience's anger surged, their sympathies with Ava, their outrage a powerful force against this harmful falsehood, eager for the truth to expose the elite's deception. The cadets' harshness escalated as they spread damaging rumors, their words a sharp and bitter torrent throughout the barracks. A Pentagon intern, outfitted in a $6,000 tactical kit, moved forward, his voice prominent and direct. "She's a fake, likely paid to get into this camp," he stated, his team concurring, their cufflinks glinting. "Her appearance is a deception, a tactic to disrupt the trials." Another claim added, "She's a con artist. Nathaniel has been misled." The laughter was loud, each rumor a painful blow to Ava's heart. Instructors shared false statements, their accusations spreading rapidly. "She's seeking the recognition." Ava touched her backpack, her eyes unwavering, but the crowd's defamation felt like a heavy burden. The audience's anger surged, their sympathies with Ava, their resentment a powerful force against this harmful accusation, eager for the truth to expose the elite's falsehoods. The final evaluation approached, a jungle warfare simulation intended to challenge even the most resilient. Each team of 10 had to traverse a dense forest, construct a camp, safeguard their squad, and implement a counterattack strategy. The cadets moved quickly, their radios buzzing, their maps misinterpreted, their self-importance colliding. Disorder broke out, with arguments and lost signals, leaving a team stranded on high ground. Vanessa Pierce issued commands, her braids swinging, but her squad hesitated, their perimeter vulnerable. Ava moved forward, her sneakers silent on the mud, her wrinkled shirt a noticeable difference from the camp's tactical appearance. She seized the radio, reviewed the map, and assumed command. "Team 2, flank right at 15 degrees. Establish a perimeter," she stated, her voice calm but resolute. "Team 4, withdraw from the elevated position, transition to a staggered retreat." She addressed Vanessa. "As acting leader, relinquish command. I will assume full responsibility for the mission." The cadets paused, then complied, their actions precise under her instructions. The simulation concluded exceptionally quickly, the fastest operation ever recorded at St. Hawthorne's. There were no simulated injuries, and every squad was recovered. The forest became still, the audience's emotions moved, their frustration changing to eagerness, Ava's restrained power a glimmer in the cold. The training field reflected a scene of shocked expressions. The cadets' tactical gear appeared muted compared to Ava's simple shirt. A lead instructor, Colonel Raymond Holt, advanced, his beret shadowing his face, his eyes displaying surprise. At 55, a veteran of 3 wars, he indicated the command center screens. "That was the most precise operation I've witnessed in decades," he remarked, his voice wavering. "Who is she?" The cadets gathered within the debriefing tent, their custom knives catching the light. Where did she acquire that command style? Why was she dressed that way? Vanessa's braid appeared to droop, her self-assurance a diminishing trace. The committee chair, General Laura Tate, moved closer. Where did you acquire this expertise? Ava hesitated, her gray eyes unwavering. I served as a Special Forces major, she replied. I left after a failed mission resulted in the loss of someone dear to me. A hush fell over the camp, murmurs about her identity circulating. Ava Collins, the youngest female officer to command a tactical battalion, disappeared from official documentation following a puzzling resignation. A wave of pride and anticipation filled the onlookers as Ava's revelations altered the camp's existing power structure. A noticeable change occurred, signaled by a deep hum as a black UH-60 Blackhawk descended to the landing zone. Unexpected and without prior announcement, the cadets' faces lost color. The door slid open, and General Nathaniel Cross emerged, his four-star uniform gleaming, accompanied by 2 aides. At 42, raised in Colorado, he served as the Supreme Commander of Strategic Operations, a renowned figure in military circles. He proceeded directly to Ava, offering a precise salute. Major Collins, you haven't lost your edge, he stated, his voice steady. He then took her hand, kissed her forehead, and turned to address the camp. I am her husband, he stated, and he shared reports indicating she had been ridiculed, demeaned, and even subjected to physical mistreatment at what is presented as a prestigious training center. The barracks fell silent, camera drones suspended, instructors' expressions pale. The audience experienced a surge of emotion, their anger shifting to admiration as Nathaniel's words exposed the deception that had concealed Ava's experience. The camp remained motionless, Vanessa Pierce's tactical vest sliding from her shoulder, her braid offering no protection. Nathaniel confronted the camp director, his gray eyes unwavering. I insist on an immediate investigation, he stated. Everyone involved in mistreating her, including your daughter, will be suspended, lose student privileges, and be marked for a violation of military ethics. No one should advance by belittling others. The cadets' demeanor appeared to lessen, their faces drawn with surprise. Claravas remained still, her supervisory role an acknowledgement of failure. Nathaniel indicated Ava, his hand firm. She directed battalions in conflict areas. Your camp disappointed her, not the reverse. The crowd erupted in applause, their anger shifting to admiration as Ava's honesty started to redefine St. Hawthorne's history. Colonel Holt acknowledged, his beret pulled down in deference, the area holding still anticipating her reply. Ava advanced, her creased shirt a subtle symbol of authority, and clasped Nathaniel's hand. I did not arrive to guide, she stated, her voice gentle yet distinct. I came to observe. She hesitated, her gray eyes examining the cadets. When guidance was required, it was provided. The camp exploded with sound, instructors rising to their feet, their applause a magnificent display of admiration. Vanessa Pierce lowered her head, her vest offering no protection, and quietly apologized to Major Collins. Officials from the Pentagon came forward, presenting offers of a return to duty with unsteady hands. Ava smiled, gently squeezed Nathaniel's hand, and stated, I'm finished with conflicts. I simply came to observe the camp. The crowd erupted in cheers, their emotions heightened as her poise dismantled the established order's pride. The consequences were swift, a judgment conveyed without words. Vanessa Pierce faced an indefinite suspension, her father's position as chief of staff rendered powerless, and escorts escorted her toward the gate. Clara Voss was moved to desk duty, effectively ending her career as a gatekeeper. Ethan Holt, the cadet who had ridiculed Ava's backpack, was disqualified from final trials, extinguishing his ambitions. The Texion who had derided her sneakers was expelled, his family's connections proving ineffective. Those who had laughed faced disciplinary action, and their responsibilities lessened. The cadets who had circulated rumors concealed their timepieces, their power voided. Ava stood next to Nathaniel, her canvas sneakers planted firmly, her backpack a declaration of her honesty. The audience's hearts pounded, their outrage shifting to jubilation, Ava's when shining brightly and humbling the camp's prominent figures within St. Hawthorne's respected area. Nathaniel Cross held the training grounds with his authority, his voice cutting through the noise. You questioned Ava Collins, he stated, his gray eyes conveying restrained anger, the essence of this camp's heritage. Your equipment, your ranks are irrelevant against her reality. He displayed a tablet, showing a list of revoked permissions. Vanessa Pierce's training was suspended, Clara Voss lost event access, and the cadets were removed from trial eligibility, all decisions made by St. Hawthorne's board. Your identities are removed from military records, he announced, his gaze fixed on Vanessa. You have suffered more than just lost practice exercises. You have lost your integrity. The audience's intakes of breath were a chorus of surprise, their systems collapsing under his direction. Ava stood next to him, her creased shirt illuminated, her victory confirmed by Nathaniel's powerful outcry. The audience erupted, their spirits lifted as his worldwide punishment destroyed the privileged's presumption. The downfall of the elite was a spectacle, their arrogance shattered under Nathaniel's command. Vanessa Pierce stumbled off the training field, her tactical vest a mockery, her reputation a cautionary tale among the cadets. Clara Voss's gatekeeping empire plummeted, her scorn a public wound, her escorts pushing her toward the supply exit. Ethan Holt's aspirations collapsed, his mockery exposed as lies. The Pentagon intern who'd spread rumors hid his cufflinks, his eligibility void. Those who had shown scorn were let go, their careers concluded. The diplomat's son who had laughed was ostracized, his reputation diminished. Ava remained steadfast, her sneakers a subtle symbol of triumph, her gray eyes resolute. The camp's drones recorded the elite's downfall, their empires collapsing under Ava's direction. The audience's hearts pounded, their resentment shifting to admiration, Ava's success and Nathaniel's fury, consuming the military's wealthiest within St. Hawthorne's sacred grounds. Under Nathaniel's command, the camp's established order collapsed, revealing deep-seated flaws. He addressed the camp director, his words sharp and direct. Your training protocols are a sham, he stated, his gray eyes unwavering. Every rule that caused my wife distress is null and void, effective immediately. With a tap of his phone, a wave of notifications flooded the staff's devices. Contracts were terminated, access was denied, and entire squads were disqualified. Texan's connections were non-existent, his influence a memory of a bygone empire. The colonel's daughter's team was removed, her career halted. The instructor who had laughed was led away, her uniform somber. Ava stood next to Nathaniel, her backpack a silent declaration of her truth, her victory a shining light in the camp's fading glow. The audience's spirits rose, their anger changing into triumph, Nathaniel's fury a powerful surge that washed away St. Hawthorne's pride. The cadets' failings were confirmed as they confronted the drones, their confidence shattered by Nathaniel's orders. Sequentially, they approached the field's perimeter, their tactical gear lackluster, their voices unsteady. Ethan Holt turned towards the barracks, his Oakley sunglasses appearing insincere. I was mistaken to ridicule Major Collins, he stated, his apology a public admission of error, his previous challenges rendered meaningless. The diplomat's offspring followed, his North Face gear worn, his reputation diminished. I regret propagating falsehoods, he murmured, his impact gone. The colonel's daughter expressed her regret, her eligibility now non-existent. The staff who had previously mocked them stood in the rear, their uniforms removed, their careers concluded. Ava stood next to Nathaniel, her shirt a subtle declaration, her backpack representing her reality. The audience erupted, their spirits lifted as the apologies of the privileged resonated, their established structures collapsing under Ava's direction and Nathaniel's consistent strength. Ava's history remained unknown, not to the cadets, not to Vanessa, and not to the staff. At 20, she undertook training in muddy fields while studying tactics at night, her determination securing her a commission. By 24, she led a battalion in a classified operation, her bravery exceptional until a mission setback resulted in the loss of a friend's life, prompting her resignation. At 26, she encountered Nathaniel at a veterans event, her understated strength attracting him amidst a crowd of boastfulness. Their marriage, a private ceremony in a Virginia forest, was founded on love and shared experiences. Vanessa's lotion, the staff's uniforms, and the cadets' gear couldn't compare to the weight of the backpack Ava carried. Now she stood on the field, her ponytail a clear sign of her authenticity, her silence a powerful force that exposed their falsehoods. The camp fell still, but the cadets' eyes remained fixed on Ava. A junior instructor approached, his voice quiet with deference. "Major Collins, your orders," he said, his previous disdain now a mark of regret. The cadets withdrew, their impact diminished, their families working to repair relationships with St. Hawthorne. The Pentagon observed, their power wavering under Ava's dominance. She proceeded towards the command center, her gray eyes following Nathaniel's confident smile. The drones lessened their brightness, the spring light lessening, as a procession of the military's wealthiest sought her consideration, their gestures a quiet submission to the woman they had previously ridiculed. Ava chose not to resume her prior position, but agreed to serve as a guest instructor, delivering a single, exclusive class, achieving victory without fanfare. Her sneakers made a quiet sound on the lecture hall floor, and she carried a backpack over her shoulder, where she mentored a new generation to lead without ego. The camp implemented a new policy, requiring respect for all candidates, irrespective of their background. The field became quiet, the drones motionless, and the legacies of the elites settled like dust. Nathaniel moved closer to her, his gray eyes radiating warmth. "Ready to return home?" She nodded, her gray eyes following his smile. They walked away from the grounds as the spring light diminished, leaving St. Hawthorne irrevocably altered by a singular instruction. A uniform wasn't necessary for her to command attention. Someone who once led entire war zones rarely needs to raise their voice to inspire obedience. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this, and tell us in the comments, what would you do if you were Ava? Red wine stained her uniform. A mop was thrust into her hands, and laughter echoed as she was addressed as merely help and instructed to remain unseen. She was treated with disdain, as though her presence diminished the refined atmosphere of the elite, disregarded without recognition of her name, face, or prospects. However, what they were unaware of, what no one anticipated, was that the maid they ridiculed had quietly accumulated every secret, every deception, every scandal they attempted to conceal. Their empire crumbled unexpectedly. The estate exuded opulence. Marble floors extended seemingly without end, chandeliers shimmered with gold, and walls displayed paintings that spoke of inherited wealth. The Carlyles presided over it all, a family entrenched in politics and business, their names synonymous with influence. Vivian entered as their new housemaid, a woman in her 30s, her dark hair pulled back, her plain gray uniform unremarkable. She possessed beauty, with striking cheekbones and deep brown eyes, yet it went unnoticed. To them, she was a shadow, moving quietly through their world. Her employment began 6 months prior, and the experience was harsh from the outset. Victoria Carlyle, the lady of the house, moved about in silk robes, issuing commands as if Vivian were a machine. "Scrub the foyer again, those tiles aren't gleaming," she would say even when they appeared spotless. Her daughter, Brooke, was even more difficult, with sharp heels and a sharper tongue, 25 years old and exhibiting a sense of entitlement. "Don't touch my bags, you'll smudge them," she would hiss, pushing past Vivian as if she were a piece of furniture. The guests were no better, senators, CEOs, individuals with private jets, scarcely giving her a look as they requested new drinks or expressed dissatisfaction with the silverware's cleanliness. Vivian endured it all, lowering her head, speaking quietly, and keeping her hands still. This continued, day after day, in a cycle of fetching, cleaning, and bowing. Victoria once required her to remake a 5-course dinner arrangement because a napkin was slightly misaligned. Brooke yelled when Vivian inadvertently brushed against her purse. "I'm fortunate I don't dismiss you personally." The employees speculated she wouldn't remain. However, Vivian persevered, her composure unwavering, her silence a subtle strength unnoticed by many. One afternoon, Brooke abruptly took a tray of crystal glasses from Vivian's grasp. The fragile stems broke on the marble floor, seemingly intended to observe her reaction. "Oops, too heavy for you?" Brooke remarked, her heels tapping as she laughed, the shattering sound resonating throughout the foyer. Sharp fragments of glass sliced into Vivian's palms as she knelt to clean, blood mingling with the debris. But no apology emerged. Only Victoria's harsh voice from the stairs. "You will pay for that clumsy fool." Vivian remained silent, her hands steady despite the pain, their harshness a whip striking across her lowered head. She polished their world while they walked over her, unnoticed unless they needed something or someone to mistreat. One evening, Victoria dumped a bucket of soapy water over Vivian's head in front of a group of elite guests relaxing in the parlor, the suds soaking her uniform and dripping onto the rug. "That's what you get for missing a spot," Victoria said, her silk robe swishing as the room erupted in laughter, a senator slapping his knee. "She's a drowned rat now." Brooke smirked, snapping a photo. "Perfect for the help scrapbook." Shivering and soaked, Vivian stood, wiping her face with a deliberate motion, ignoring their taunts as she endured them silently. Soon after, the party arrived. The Carlisle mansion shone that night, filled with the city's most prominent figures. Tuxedos, elegant gowns, and diamonds glittered like constellations. Vivian moved through the gathering, carrying a tray and pouring wine with practiced care. The atmosphere vibrated with business discussions and joyful sounds, the Carlisle family presiding over the event. As she refilled a glass, her elbow brushed against a woman, a prominent businesswoman named Diane Kessler. She was strikingly dressed, with blonde hair and a dress valued at $20,000. During the party, a plate of hors d'oeuvres was pushed into Vivian's chest by Diane. Immediately preceding the wine spill, the greasy appetizer stained her gray dress as the crowd murmured, "Carry it right or don't bother," Diane exclaimed, her blonde hair swaying as she turned to her companions. "She's a walking disaster. Look at her." Victoria advanced, her voice sharp. "Clean yourself up. You're a disgrace." Brooke laughed derisively. "She's the stain now." Vivian calmly removed crumbs, her silence a defense against their harsh amusement, feeling the room's attention focused on her. Red wine spread across the white silk, creating a noticeable mark. The atmosphere shifted, and then Diane spoke forcefully. "People like you don't belong in a place like this." Her voice resonated, silencing the surrounding noise. All eyes turned to her. An accident had occurred. Vivian stood there, tray steady, wine dripping to the floor, her face blank. Victoria approached quickly, her heels clicking sharply. "What happened? You've caused a scene in front of everyone," she exclaimed, her voice carrying throughout the room. Brooke observed with a slight smile, her arms crossed. "She's made a mess. Remove her." Diane gestured to her damaged dress. "I should take legal action against you for this." The onlookers responded with laughter, sharp intakes of breath, and whispers of "How did she get in here?" Following the wine spill, Richard threw a wad of cash at Vivian's face, the bills slapping her cheek as he shouted from across the room. "That's for the dress. Now get lost." The crowd cheered, a woman in pearls shouting, "Pay up, maid." While Brooke clapped, she declared, "She's worth less than that." Victoria sneered, urging, "Take it and crawl out. You've ruined enough." Vivian caught the money midair, her fingers steady, her brown eyes unblinking, the laughter of the onlookers feeling like a hammer pounding her down. She remained steadfast, simply tucking it into her apron and continuing to clean. Vivian did not react, only bending to address the spill. Her silence resonated more powerfully than their comments. The shame was intense. A senator laughed, remarking, "Guess they're hiring off the street now." A woman adorned with pearls whispered, "She's got no business here." Victoria seized Vivian's arm, pulling her towards the kitchen. "You're finished for tonight. Remain out of view," she hissed, pushing her through the door. Following the initial confrontation, Brooke stated, "Don't come back until you understand your place." A wave of mocking laughter trailed her, emanating from individuals who had never performed manual labor. As the party concluded, Victoria pressed a mop into Vivian's hands, her voice sharp as she directed her towards the spill. "Clean it up, you're inadequate. For once, do something correctly." "Guess," a CEO commented, "she's not even competent at that." Simultaneously, Brooke positioned the mop bucket nearer, soaking Vivian's legs. Diane gave a scornful smile. "Should have let her go a long time ago. Disgraceful." Vivian held the mop tightly, water collecting near her feet, her uniform stained with wine and grease, but she didn't react, simply beginning to clean. Their animosity, a burden she bore silently. Vivian remained in the dimness, drying her hands, her gaze unwavering, without tears or complaint. Afterward, as the party concluded and the mansion grew quiet, Vivian went to a small room located near the east wing. She secured the door, retrieved a burner phone from her apron pocket, and initiated a call. Her tone altered, becoming subdued, precise, and authoritative. The moment is at hand. Transfer the assets by tomorrow. A map adorned the wall with a red thread connecting various entities. Carlyle Holdings, Novalink, offshore banks. She followed a path with her fingertip, her expression distant, analytical. This was no ordinary hiding place. It was a strategic command center. She wasn't merely Vivian, the insignificant one. She was something else altogether. The following morning, the Carlyles convened in the oak-paneled study. Victoria, Brooke, and Patriarch Richard were present, all in crisp suits and with smug grins. Richard puffed a cigar. "Novalink is our golden ticket," he stated. $500 million is at stake, and they're begging for us. Victoria nodded in agreement. "We'll secure the deal today. Our most significant move yet." Brooke tossed her hair. "I'll be leading that boardroom shortly." Unbeknownst to them, Vivian was in the adjacent room, listening intently near the wall. They were unaware that Novalink wasn't a far-off acquisition. It belonged to her. Operating under a legal alias, she had constructed it from nothing. A Southeast Asian empire valued at billions, 10 times the Carlyle fortune. She controlled the game they believed they were participating in. Her narrative was more complex, more troubling. 20 years prior, her father, Charles Lancaster, worked as a journalist. He was persistent, investigating the Carlyles' illicit dealings. Corruption, money laundering, and bribes were exposed. He possessed comprehensive evidence. Subsequently, an incident occurred, a car crash on a rainy night. The brakes had been tampered with. There were no witnesses. Vivian was 13 years old, observing her mother, who worked as a Carlyle maid, fall apart when she was dismissed. Sorrow consumed her mom a year later, leaving Vivian an orphan, her family broken by the Carlyles' actions. She made a vow then in that bleak orphanage to expose them, not through outbursts but through quiet determination. There was further injustice. The Carlyles enjoyed their public relations displays, taking in Mia, a 6-year-old orphan, and showcasing her at events as a symbol of their generosity. "Our angel," Victoria said to the press, all manufactured tears and staged photographs. The team was unaware that Mia was Vivian's niece, the daughter of her sister, Lily, who had also been employed by them. Lily had died unexpectedly, a fall down the mansion stairs. There was no formal inquiry. Vivian accepted the position of maid with a single purpose: to remain nearby, to protect Mia from those responsible for her mother's death. Each task, from cleaning shelves to serving drinks, brought her closer to fulfilling that commitment. Time passed, and the atmosphere grew strained. Richard finalized the Novalink documentation, his expression conveying satisfaction. Vivian continued with her customary tasks, cleaning, assisting, and observing. Then Victoria spotted her close to Mia's room, her expression wary. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "You're dismissed. Leave immediately." Victoria attempted to seize her phone, initiating a call to security. "Have her removed now." 2 guards entered the room, but rather than apprehending Vivian, they paused, their heads lowered. "We await your command, ma'am," one stated, his voice resolute. Victoria's hand halted in mid-motion, her complexion paling. Vivian had systematically substituted each guard over several months. After 6 years of meticulous preparation, her strategy was nearing completion. The following evening, the Carlyles held a press gala, with cameras flashing and reporters eagerly discussing the event, creating a setting for their anticipated triumph. Richard addressed the audience. "Our family's legacy is unparalleled. Business, charity, leadership." The crowd responded with applause and smiles. Suddenly, the screens began to flicker. A woman stepped forward. Vivian, wearing a simple gray dress and with no makeup or special introduction. She connected a drive to the projector, and the room fell silent. Documents appeared on the screen. Evidence of tax fraud, fabricated charities, and records of bribes emerged. Years of revelations about Carlyle surfaced. It was undeniable. Speaking with a steady, unwavering voice, she declared, "I was the daughter of Charles Lancaster, the man you had killed. You took my family, my home, my sister." She explained her previous silence, stating, "Because sometimes silence is the loudest scream." The displays showed Charles and Gwen's past articles. Headlines detailed Carlyle's corruption, his handwriting appearing in the margins, providing proof of his involvement in covering up their wrongdoing. A wave of gasps rippled through the audience, quickly turning into shouts as Vivian's voice resonated, identifying him as her father. Richard's hand holding his cigar trembled, the dark history of his empire exposed, every concealed payment surfacing as specters threatening to overwhelm him. Victoria's luxurious silk robe appeared diminished as she watched. The maid she'd soaked was revealed to be the daughter of one of their victims, her presence a reflection they were powerless to destroy. Brooke's image of Vivian's wet uniform briefly filled her thoughts. A shocking revelation now turned against them, the truth a sudden and impactful disclosure that left them stunned. The onlookers gasped, cameras clicking. Richard's cigar dropped, Victoria's pearls were gripped tightly, Brooke's smirk vanished. Proof accumulated, offshore accounts, forged signatures, and a hit order from 1998 with Richard's initials. Vivian spoke calmly, without triumph, simply presenting the facts. Her brown eyes met theirs, and the situation quickly descended into disarray. Journalists surged forward, yelling questions. Is this true? Who is she? The Carlyles protested. Lies.
Fabrication.
But the proof was undeniable. 6 years of Vivian's work, each file a devastating piece of evidence. Richard's expression contorted as Vivian's evidence appeared on the screens, his cigar falling as he understood that every dollar he'd pursued was insignificant compared to her vast holdings. He had spent money on a woman who could have financed his existence 100 times over, and now he had lost everything. A photograph of Lily appeared next, Vivian's sister, young and smiling, then a death certificate confirmed an accidental fall, followed by payroll records listing her as their maid, the dates corresponding with Mia's birth. The audience fell silent, then reacted strongly as Vivian indicated Mia, saying, "She's my niece. Your angel was my blood." Victoria's insincere tears from press conferences seemed bitter. Her prized child exposed as a falsehood she's previously displayed, now a burden upon her. Brooke's self-satisfied grin from presenting Mia at galas disappeared. She had mocked the aunt while cuddling the niece, and the room's cheers drowned her out. Vivian's truth, a blade, shattered their facade. Victoria's pearls snapped in her grip, her sobs choked by the revelation that the maid she demeaned possessed more than her dreams. Her dynasty crumbled under Vivian's quiet hand. Brooke's heels wobbled as she stared, her smirk a distant memory. Nova Link's billions rendered her $500 million a child's game, and the press swarmed. Her downfall played out for the world to see. Their greed had blinded them, and Vivian's justice cut deeper than any blade, their empire dust at her feet. Then came the surprising development. Nova Link is pulling out, Vivian said matter-of-factly. Oh, and I own it. Every cent. Nova Link's logo flashed prominently, a corporate powerhouse Vivian had created, its billions displayed in real time, overshadowing the Carlyles' modest fortune as the press announced. She owns it all. Richard's $500 million deal disintegrated into nothing. He had pleaded with someone he had previously ridiculed, his cigar a prop in a performance she had crafted. Victoria's shriek cut through the air. "That's impossible," she exclaimed. But the figures were undeniable. Her maid's assets resembled a vast wave eroding their inheritance. Brooke's heels clicked as she retreated, her aspirations for the boardroom a dream against Vivian's actuality. The audience's applause a tribute to her unspoken authority, their ruin a melody they were powerless to silence. Richard's jaw fell.
Victoria gasped.
Brooke's eyes widened as if struck. Vivian's substantial wealth, amounting to billions, a truly immense fortune, made their $500 million deal seem insignificant. The room felt unstable. Their empire appeared to be crumbling, Police lights flashed outside within hours, assets were frozen, and warrants were issued. The guards advanced, their uniforms sharp, their expressions impassive. Vivian's network, cultivated over years, now positioned itself around her as the screens displayed security logs revealing their identities, exposing her 6-year strategic plan. Richard shouted, "You work for me." But they remained unmoved, one quietly saying, "Not anymore, sir." The feeling of betrayal felt like a knife twisting inside him. Victoria's suggestion to dismiss Vivian seemed like a cruel jest now. She had entrusted her position to a woman who had already established a claim. Brooks' outburst, "She's nothing," faded as the crowd voiced Vivian's name, her quiet ascent to power a triumph they could not seize, their authority diminished by the servant they had attempted to suppress. Richard shouted into a phone, "Correct this." But his legal team was already arranging their departure. Victoria wept, "We are destroyed." Brooke attempted to leave unnoticed, but reporters prevented her, her heels now ineffective. The guards, Vivian's guards, maintained their positions, devoted to her, not to them. Mia ran to Vivian, embracing her leg, and Vivian crouched down, whispering, "You are safe now." The Carlyles were unaware that Mia was Lily's daughter, unaware that Vivian had outmaneuvered them all. The consequences arrived quickly. Inquiries swept through Carlyle assets, revealing tax evasion, fraud, and connections to murder. Richard was arrested. Victoria relinquished her philanthropic endeavors. Brooks' reputation as a socialite disintegrated. Their estate plunged into darkness, gates secured, a lasting symbol of avarice. Vivian didn't accept a single dollar. She presented the proof, departed without stain. She upheld her sister's pledge, shield Mia, reveal the corruption. No acclaim, no dominion, solely justice, serene and stark. Several weeks elapsed. Vivian stood on a rural highway, Mia holding her hand. No expansive residence, no protectors, just a modest garment and a child mirroring Lily's expression. They headed towards a modest dwelling, unassuming and tranquil, hers. Vivian's victory required no fanfare. She had overcome them through perseverance, kindness, and a keen intellect surpassing their strength. As the sun descended, Mia released a joyful laugh, finally liberated. Often, those who appear reserved can dismantle even the most powerful structures. If this narrative resonated with you, please consider liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing for more content.